Hello everybody, and welcome to the LJL Officially Unofficial Podcast. I am one of your many hosts, Alex, otherwise known as I can go by MaskedSwan on the internet, and of course I am joined by the ravishing Sam, Initia1ise Hapgood, and the majestic Alex, otherwise known as Nymaera Hapgood. That's right, the Hapgood brother duo, my play-by-play caster and color commentator. Gentlemen, as I say always, introduce yourselves.
And of course, we were just introduced by the fastidious MaskedSwan, who is also one of our co-partners, co-casters, and co-hosts as well. So it's lovely to see you. Of course, I'm Nymaera, as always. Looking forward to bringing you some more off-season content for the LJL.
Yeah, and I'm still Initia1ise, I'm still here, and apparently I'm ravishing today. It's a beautiful, beautiful
so.
appellation to have attached to my person. Doing pretty well today, I feel.
Very good, very good. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. It's episode 16 of the LJL Officially Unofficial Podcast.
Wow.
We're starting to get a little bit up there in the numbers. At least we're getting past the points. We've got a few spots on our face. We're 16. We're trying to really get through it all. We're about to break into the LJL as a professional. Like we're getting up there. We're getting good.
We're getting there.
But
two more, and then we're officially official.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe.
It's just official at that point, right? That's how that works.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Nymaera, I want to ask you though.
We'll get there.
What is this podcast? What is this podcast?
This podcast is covering the League of Legends Japanese League, which is all about League of Legends professional scene in the country of Japan, and we cover it in the English language.
Some could say we are the pioneers when it really comes to covering it on a consistency basis.
We've been at it for a while now, actually. Yeah, you know, we've been doing it week in, week out, covered all the spring split games between the three of us, and done some podcasts alongside it. So that's what we're doing again today.
Never not had a podcast. And Initialize, sir.
Yes.
One would assume that we have some form of affiliation with Riot and their partners, or Riot Japan?
Well, alas, no. We are our own independent brand. We only bootleg off the Riot stuff, and we're not affiliated with Riot Japan or any of their partners, in fact. We're completely flying solo at the moment.
You thought it was Riot, but it was us, Dio!
Oh, God, Dio. That's right.
We are getting the set emote at some point, so
Yeah.
it's getting closer and closer.
Oh, I can't wait for it. Like, I can't wait for the skins for set. That's what I can't wait for. You know, there's gonna be some fire.
What I need is a Macho Libre skin for set. You know, we've got El Tigre Brom and the Mundo one as well. And Volibear's got one. We need them.
With that said, all of the views and anything we do say is expressive of our own points of view. This does also not represent the LJL Officially Unofficial. This is us just talking out of our mouth holes about whatever our brainy thing our CPUs are saying. So that's how that kind of works. If you are interested in finding out more about this podcast, we will plug it throughout as well, but we'll do it at the very end. We do have social media channels, as you can see below each of our faces. We have our names of Nymaera, Initialize with a 1 for that L, and MaskedSwan for myself, as well as also having the LJL Officially Unofficial. So for our Twitch and Instagram, it's LJL_officially_unofficial, and for our Twitter, it's LJL Unofficial. If you just Google that, you'll also find us there. Obviously, you can also find out this podcast on all audio streaming platforms. If you are interested in that point of view, we do give it as an option with show notes and everything else, so you don't miss anything when it comes to the content.
Never miss a beat.
Obviously, look after everybody out there. It's still out there, and it's still a crazy time.
It is.
But, gentlemen, to get into the thick of things with this main topics we're going to be covering, we've got a kind of a different podcast episode here. We haven't got a super deep dive topic. We've got a few smaller things and we're going to cover. This is also probably going to be what we were hinting towards in our previous podcast episode 15, where we do mention we're going to be probably having shorter podcast episodes just due to the
Yeah.
nature of it's been a long time since we've really talked about a lot of games in a consistency basis.
We're in pretty much the anti-Goldilocks zone where we're just far enough from the end of the far enough away from the end of the split to not talk about finals again. You know, we already went through that. We went over that, and we're not close enough to the next split to really start ramping up in terms of pre-split predictions. So we're biding our time. We're going to find some interesting stuff to talk about. It's going to be pretty chill, I think.
Yeah, the porridge is both too cold and lumpy. It's not worth it.
Oh God,
So
that is. We're hopefully more appetizing than that.
yeah, we're gonna hope.
Maybe.
We'll find out with how this episode goes.
Speak for yourself.
We will find out soon enough. So, gentlemen, one of the first things we're going to talk about and cover is going to be brand new news that only came out a few days ago, and that is going to be the mid-season streamathon being announced, with details to come, possibilities of an exhibition match, and more. We're not hugely sure about it. On the Saturday, the 30th of May, there's going to be a bunch of matches: the European, US, EU face-off match, Russia and CSI All-Star Variety Show. There's going to be a bunch of things happening on Saturday. At the very end, 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. I'm assuming that's European Standard Time.
Actually, not sure about that. They've got it in a timestamp somewhere on the picture. But...
There's a bunch of
timestamps, but they're all GMT +8, so I'll have to forgive that. That'll be the
Okay.
Sunday
gotcha.
at 4 a.m. through 7 a.m.
For us, yeah.
for GMT.
Oof.
that sucks.
That's
The
typical LJL
That's
times.
where it is. LJL times, my boys.
Oh god. Okay, and
Yeah.
in Japan there's going to be an exhibition tournament finals. There is currently zero information out there at the moment in regards to what that could possibly be. But as we cover the LJL and we know it's going to last 3 hours for this segment, we're going to do a little bit of speculation. We're going to do a little bit of what we think could fill that void, what our expectations are, and kind of go from there. So I want to ship this over to first the man that's been doing some research on the history of the LJL. Initia1ise, what would you like to see from this 3 hour segment that's going to be streamed throughout the world to really show Japanese League of Legends?
Yeah, I'm looking over the post. They've got it down with this slightly vague title of Exhibition Tournament Finals. So if it's a finals with 3 hours, I'm assuming a best of 3 match of some sort between two teams you'd really want to see. So for me, that's probably two of the best teams, probably under two fairly famous captains of the best players you can find in the LJL going head to head. So I don't want it to be just DFM versus Sengoku or whatever. I'd love to see like Team Captain Ebby versus Team Captain, I don't know, Ramune, one of these other old school.
Are you talking about
Yutoromashi, great call. And have these guys.
I'd want to split up the FM.
Teams. Yeah, exactly. Split it up. Have us a massive all-out all-star fight between two of the best rosters you could form out of the LJL players we've got at the minute. Anyway.
Sure. So you would like to see more of an exhibition match between all-star teams? Is that right?
Yeah,
you're saying?
big time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Nymaera, what about you?
Well, half of me kind of wants something a little bit all-star like, because I really like the personalities of the LJL players. We could have, like tandem. Well, I guess you can't do canon mode because of social distancing and stuff, but you could do some fun stuff like Nemesis draft and start seeing, I don't know, like Seros try and play Urgot mid or something. That'd be. No, actually, maybe I'd do. Maybe he probably would do it, thinking about it. But yeah, no, I think just as what Initia1ise is saying, we've got so many good players split across so many different teams. It'd be really cool to see some of the big squads mix and match, see what happens. Take some players from CJ and V3 and see if they still fight over nothing in particular around, I don't know, a Raptor pit or something. And just make the most out of it. Yeah, it does look like it's only going to be a best of 3. Normally when you see schedules come together. I mean, this is if it is just league matches, right? It could also be involving streamers, different kind of games. Could have TFT chucked in there as well. We have no idea yet. So plenty of stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping for some mix and match. I don't want to just see the teams play, I don't think. Well, no, I mean, I'd still like that, don't get me wrong. But my ideal scenario would be mix and match some teams.
I think there's a lot of options that obviously they can go with this. I think it would be crazy to not have at least some kind of talk panel show sort of thing. It'll be interesting to see on the right-hand side of the rundown, and the link for the rundown, the mid-season streamathon announcement, we will be posting in the show notes. It does say it is going to be in Japanese. So this is not like they're going to be doing an English cast with a Japanese cast on the side. This is going to be in Japanese, following along with the other emerging regions, which are almost taking up a complete slot, if you actually really go through it, of Russia, Brazil, Latin America, Japan, and then ending us out will be Turkey. It's going to be, it's kind of nice that we're seeing the original languages, but I think we speak for a community of emerging...
Yeah, our little group.
Yeah, our little group where that's great to have it in its native language, but I think it's also nice to have it in other languages available for they've done this in the past, so why not keep Archers out? Go with that one. I think there's a lot of options, like Nymaera said, TFT. That'd be an interesting thing. I don't really want to see that. I think an all-star thing will be the coolest thing. I think the most likely thing we're just going to see DFM
like
facing
1v1s
off.
and...
Yeah, I think though, with the terminology they used in this, where it says exhibition tournament finals, it just feels like we're going to get the top 2 teams from the regular split as well as also in the playoffs, which basically... Like, it just feels like it's probably going to be DFM versus Sengoku, right?
Hear me out, guys.
Okay.
If they have other game modes and they have 1v1s, which 1v1 between 2 LJL players would you like to see the most? No holds barred, any champion matchup you want, what would it be? I have one in mind.
I mean, I kind of want to see Siros versus Ramune. Like, the proper, like, the matchup that we were promised and then didn't quite get. I think I'd like to see a repeat, like a rebate.
What I want Boogie versus Adia, both of them playing Echo.
That would be
Both playing Silas.
Both playing Silas, yeah. Both playing Silas, both playing Echo.
Stealing each other's ults over and over again,
No, but then you have you have 4 other players who are just on various champions that you can steal ults from but aren't allowed to get involved.
It's literally just like one of them takes one
dummy.
step forward and the other one just like tips the glasses and does like the anime Sheen things, like that was your first mistake.
And the response is that was your
first mistake. Anyway, either way, I'm
around and around we go. Yeah.
Initialize any 1v1 you'd like to see?
Am I allowed to say I think a 2v2 between some of the top jungle duos would be hella fun?
Okay.
Like, I think, it's something like Ebby plus Steel versus what would be like Ray Farky and Want, for example. That would be a ridiculously fun one to watch. Or just the bot lane duos. I like Yuzuru Mayoshi and Enti versus Yutapon and Gang all over again would be.
We've seen 9 games of that. In fairness,
I would genuinely watch some more.
I mean, that just speaks to how good we think some of these how good this region is, and how much it's really evolved in front of once. We know more information, we will be able to come to a conclusion if it's worth us covering in our traditional sense for the LJL Officially Unofficial.
Whether it's feasible, whether we can do it.
If they're just doing some fun caster matches and streamers and personalities in Japan are brought on, sadly that is not our expertise currently, so
we'll see.
Be less for us to cover. So we're definitely going to explore the opportunity as and when it becomes available, I think is the easiest way to put it.
For sure.
With all of that said, though, gentlemen, let's get a little bit real. Let's get a little bit real with our viewers, and let's really say how we feel. We're going to actually take a few moments here on the podcast to do a bit of introspective and really talk to each other about, on cast this time, more about what we think we got out from the LJL, what we've learned from covering the LJL, and just what it means to actually cover competitive League of Legends and professional games of League of Legends, where there is a story, there is a narrative. Who wants to take the floor first, out of interest? If there's any initial thoughts in regards to anything, any Nymaeras in the chat and everything else.
That needs to be in a mode, by the way. We need to get one of those commissioned. I can go first.
Don't know if I can allow that, but
because obviously hang on. So let's have a think. So we had what, 8 weeks? Was it 7 weeks or 8?
7 weeks is what it was,
Okay,
not including breaks.
So 7, yeah. So we had 7 weeks of 8 games. So that is what? That's 56 regular season games with a tiebreaker. That's 57. Then we had a good 20 playoff matches, something like that.
So
we've covered
So we've covered 52 games in the regular spring split, and then we covered 26 games in the playoffs.
Yeah, so we covered effectively 80 games between the three of us.
Yep.
To put things in perspective, we, that's probably the same amount of games. That's probably double the amount of games a caster would get in a major region, because the amount of times that you split time on cast and stuff like that is actually a huge amount of work we put into this and have gotten out of it as well. And we only started doing this November, December, and that was when we were practicing. We only had our first live broadcast, first game of the regular split this spring. So it has been a trial by fire. It has been pretty crazy in some regards. And, we're still working through that as well, trying to find ways to make it easier coming into the next split as well, because, we try and be professional about it. And as much as we like to be, we're not professionals quite yet. We're just kind of working our way through it. We're getting towards that. We're actually getting there, and that's something to be ridiculously proud of. So for me, it's really what is the LJL spring split meant to me? It's kind of giving me a kick up the arse in terms of work ethic. That's one thing. And it's also given me a lot to look forward to because we achieved it anyway. Actually, we kind of stumbled through it and we did it. So I've been very happy with this split in a lot of ways. How about you guys?
I mean, it's been a learning experience overall. Like, there's been a lot of things that are learning what it means to actually cover the region. Like actually learning a narrative, really gauging how players play, how players draft, like champions people like picking, maybe mistakes they make, and like seeing teams actually fix problems. Like Axis, I think, is a really great one, right? We got to watch a team basically go 0-4, basically live up to our exact expectations and prove us wrong, and it was actually like really fulfilling because we got to literally see that on a almost a daily basis.
Yeah.
Well,
true, it was daily. Yeah, it
basis.
was weekly, weeks, but not weeks in the LJL.
Which is a whole nother topic we've already covered. And like, I mean, I'm just kind of like, in a weird way, it's I think it's more bittersweet now more than ever because it's like we've now fully done it. And yeah, okay, we had round 3 and finals, but to be honest, we've mostly been on break for a really long time now. Like, we haven't actually casted games of the spring split since basically it ended all the way back in the 12th of March. The spring split ended in 12th of March. We did a month of covering the LJL and then it was basically done and dusted, which is really weird because like it was so compressed into such a heavy month as it is. It's now kind of like, oh, I want to go back to that. Why did we compress it so much? And that's where I am. I kind of really want to just kind of almost just get back on the horse. It's made me hungry for more, as it would be.
I agree. Completely agree with that.
Yeah, I think for me, it's an element of validation too. Like, we came into this not sure we could even do this, right? We weren't sure, like, are we going to be any good as casters, as hosts, as production, as putting a stream on, as like, and all the sort of paraphernalia that comes around putting on a broadcast, even as sort of bootleg as we've done it. And the fact that we've not only done it, but I think actually done a pretty damn good job is kind of impressive and seriously validating. Because it's one of those things where you come in and say, well, we'll give it a shot. We're not even sure whether we can do this. The answer is we can. We can do it pretty damn well. And I'm really proud of the fact we managed to do that. It's just amazing to sort of realize we've pulled that off. And there's further to go yet.
Yeah, because arguably as 3 people, we've been doing 5 people's jobs,
Oh,
probably.
And we could easily have a bunch of people doing extra things for us, and it's this kind of thing. It's like, well, we could definitely have a social media person basically tweeting out and doing all that stuff while the actual shows are going. We could have
a producer, another casting pair,
easy, absolutely.
Moderators.
Oh yeah, and then also just consistent, like, have people working on content on the side, and it's all this other things. Like, we definitely do
meme factory,
do a lot of we definitely do a lot of work that, in a professional sense, yeah, sure, if we're getting paid, we would do it, but
we'd hand it off to the interns.
Oh fuck yeah, but we don't get paid, so it's kind of melodying and just kind of understanding. Like, I mean, as initially I said, we didn't even know if we'd even finish it. Like, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves in for. Literally, we had no idea.
We had some assumptions, right? But before you've jumped in, because we've got no actual experience. You jump in, we're having some
Practice cast.
Yeah, not just that. Like you have some kind of initial thoughts, thinking, well, this is what I kind of expect, but because you actually don't know what to expect in some ways. It's just something you don't prepare for, and you go, "Oh man, that was just a lot more than I was expecting."
Like,
Or,
how do you deal with your first hour-long game?
Yeah,
How do you deal with technical issues coming up out of the absolute
block.
everywhere? Oh god,
is what we should do. I'm
and-
watching MaskedSwan's face like.
And then we,
in rage.
oh yeah, and then it's like, ah! And then we figured out other ways around it, and then it's like, now we might have found another better, cleaner way, and it's just, it's an ongoing thing when you're doing a bootleg cast, because you're just trying to make it as streamlined and as straightforward and easy, but that doesn't begin like that. From where we, like, it's crazy to think where we started with, like, the three of us only in a Discord server, and think about, like, we came from basically 0 videos, zero everything, basically. And then across a split, we've kind of gotten somewhere. We've actually kind of generated a small little community, right? Which is only hopefully going to keep growing.
Yeah, gotta hope so. And that's why we're putting out content even in the off weeks, because consistency is king.
Oh, absolutely.
Lexi has been hammering that at us, just saying, look, guys, I know we don't have much to talk about, but we've got to do a podcast.
We have to. I will always get them out of the basement to keep doing it, or out of the... One of them really likes the loft. I can't remember which one of them really likes staying in the loft, because it gets really warm in the summer. So I'm like, one of them likes to be cold, one of them likes to be hot, and I have to pull them together, and then I say, podcast for me now.
Yeah, I'm the loft guy.
Oh, you're the loft guy. All right. Nymaera, Initialize is...
I don't remember talking about being okay in a loft, but okay.
No, Initialize, you're in the basement. You're in the basement still.
There is yeah.
You like the cold rocks. You like...
But on that note, honestly, for those of you listening to this now and in the future, thank you for putting up with us and all the other stuff, because we do it because there's an audience. So once again, heart goes out to you.
Thank you, instead of hello. But yeah, this LJL has been a cool thing, and well, we've got at least another split in us, and then I guess that will be where we'll go from there to see how the LJL transforms. As obviously there's been lots of happening in the esports world, with Korea now finally getting franchised, even though they were not franchised, but they basically had like the kind of authority of being franchised, but now they are now they are becoming a franchised region, and they are going to become a major 4, even though they were the major 4, but but then what does that mean for potentially one esports in the future around the world in all games? And then what does that mean for competitive League of Legends, its longevity, and where is the game going? And is there going to be more opportunities for working around the game? I think we're proof that there are definitely opportunities out there that if you work for it, who knows where you'll be in over the next few years, and we don't know, so we'll find out with you.
Catch us on the LEC cast in 3 years' time.
Possibility, or LCS.
Cox has moved full-time to CS. They need the new host. MaskedSwan sweeps in,
like,
brings in his boys.
Hello.
We're just gonna I'm gonna be in the background, like, my job here is done. You're like, but you didn't do anything. Just sweeps.
Exactly. Just like almost like you're Zoro and you have a cape and you're just like, ha!
I've not thought about Zoro in a long time.
I was thinking about the Sailor Moon thing.
I was actually thinking more about... So I got Zoro from, I think, Sailor Moon because of the Twitter thing that's going around.
That's exactly why I was doing it. Exactly what I was doing.
But also because I saw a video about Spy Kids, and Antonio Banderas is the dad in Spy Kids.
Wasn't Antonio Banderas, wasn't he?
He was Zoro as well. He was Puss in Boots as well.
I'm trying to...
He's done a lot. He's done a lot of things.
He's got a great voice.
He's a great voice, like, just unlike a lot of actors, obviously, because he is not American, which apparently means to how you can be successful in the acting world.
Okay, I know it's completely the wrong thing, but I was just thinking of Inigo Montoya from Princess Bride, and it's not Antonio Banderas.
That's a very different person. It's a
Very good movie though.
very good. One of my favorites, honestly.
Absolutely.
The Princess Bride is a brilliant movie.
Yeah, it's hallowed ground. That.
If you haven't watched The Princess Bride, you should definitely watch it. It's got a WWE wrestler. It's got a bunch of like random people.
Andre the Giant,
yeah, and it's just all kinds of crazy stuff going on. There's poison. There's politics. There's people fucking losing limbs, and it was meant to be a kids film, and it's great.
And it still is. That's the best thing. It still is. It's great.
It's so good. So definitely go watch that, gentlemen. We were given a question, and yes, we're going into question time this early because there isn't really a full meat and potatoes to this podcast until we get to the very, very end, where it's going to
have something coming.
Where it's going to be a bit more banter. But we're going to begin off with this question before we get into it, and it comes from our longtime writer, partner, one of our really first-time supporters, really, of the podcast and our content, and that is Ishiki. And they ask us the question of, hello Ishiki.
Hello Ishiki.
What off-season move would you like to see? So, gentlemen, is there an off-season move we would like to see? Now, we have obviously covered this slightly beforehand, with Rocky obviously leaving Burning Core, and then a few weeks prior to that, we talked about maybe if we could do one roster change, what would it be? But now we're in the off-season as it is. Is there any roster change or one roster change you would really like to see?
So obviously we talked about. Sorry, Sam, you can go on if you want.
Well, no, I was going to mention, like, I think we did cover a little bit of like the obvious ones, obviously between the Hawks and between Burning Core. That makes a lot of sense, standard. But yes, the Hawks need a lot of changes. I'm not sure like one roster move would be enough there. So what off-season moves I'd like to see? Probably 2 or 3 moves from the Hawks, frankly. I potentially around their solo lanes in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Speaking of the Hawks, I was kind of umming and ahhing a little bit about this because, of course, we did talk about, one roster change between 2 teams, which would make the best sense and all this kind of stuff. And I wouldn't want to make a move which would weaken one team, but then the Hawks, we just don't know what would weaken or strengthen them, even if we remove one of what we perceive to be the better players. I would almost love to see Ramone go to either Burning Core or V3, one of the two. I think he's got the champion pool to kind of overlap with aces in V3. He plays stuff like the Rumble mid, which they've been around before. He plays a Mean LeBlanc, like many of the other mids in the LJL. So I think he could do well on V3, and we've already seen them, tangle with the top teams in the LJL as well. Honestly, they're a dark horse for summer, if you ask my opinion. I think they definitely have the talent they want to. Would I give them like the winning chance? Absolutely not, because they're crazy. But they're definitely up there in the top 3-4 teams, just like they finished in the playoffs. But then of course Ramone could also go to Burning Core as well, because Rocky has sadly retired. We talked about that a little bit on the last podcast episode, and we also talked about how Ramone and Dasher have kind of been going about all of the other place. So for me, it's where is Ramone going to end up? Is he sticking on the Hawks, or is it going to be Dasher that's leaving, or is it going to be both of them or neither of them?
I mean, there's the question that comes up where it's like, does Ego finally get to promote it up from being the infamous substitute for then Sengoku and now Burning Core? Is this now his time to shine? Now as the main mid laner, like, is this actually just kind of, this was Rocky's last split, and I mean, he's on the global contract database.
Oh, YouTube. Yeah, that guy.
The same as everybody else. He played the LJL Scouting Grounds, won it, was the top pick. Burning Core took him, and we've already seen we saw a player from the second place team, who was Pooh, and obviously we've seen Pooh's performance throughout the split, so it will be interesting. But then it's really hard. But then Yoshi was also in that and did pretty good. So it's like, do we want to see maybe a player who actually won that scouting rounds and wasn't on the second place team, like Yoshi and like Pooh, actually see, go on, let's get one of the winners, right? Like it's an option.
I'd half like to see a change in the jungle for Crest as well. It's kind of weird because Yoshi, we saw a lot of growth from him in this split, but it's whether he can keep that up. Kindred is becoming more of a priority pick now. He is a Kindred player. He did try and switch that in like week 4, if I'm remembering rightly, when things were kind of going a bit down. It didn't go down so well, but I don't know. I mean, Crest is such a weird team anyway. In a lot of ways, they could potentially break whatever synergy they have by moving a roster thing, which is why I'm a bit a bit tentative on making roster changes to a lot of our top teams. Yeah.
I mean, like, I mentioned this before, I know, but like, I'm aware like there are 1 or 2 free agents out there who currently don't have a team, and if you need to switch out some players, like I know Dasher is playing a lot more mid lane, and he's potentially moving somewhere like Burning Core would make some sense. Like I did mention this before, but remember we're taking X Invictus Gaming, SKT, Narjin, KT Rolster. Duke hasn't got a team right now. And if you've got some money lying around, and the Hawks, for example, likely do because of who their investors and stuff are, like there is room potentially to get in some big bucks like that.
I mean, the big thing of the Hawks money that's backing them, I really want to see the background organization really grow more. Like,
sure.
I mean, I think
more coaching staff,
someone like the Hawks with the money that they have, right, because of the bank, because of SoftBank, like I genuinely feel like they're a team that could really inject a lot of, frankly, content, right? They could really, like, they could basically have a really cool house in the middle of Tokyo. They could become like literally the team where they're putting out all these videos. They could be somewhat like being the G2. They could genuinely be the G2 of the LJL, because they could be like slamming everybody on social media, memeing over everybody, kind of becoming the kind of fuck you, haha kind of team of the LJL. Like, if they wanted to, they don't have to, but like, it'd be cool to kind of see that. Put out arguably the most content when it comes to teams that I've been observing when it comes to everything on our Discord server, as we get most of the team's content. Axis is another team that put a lot out, but Axis don't just do League of Legends. So.
And then there are a couple of individual players who stream on YouTube a lot. So Rocky, for instance, he does a lot of content.
He's streaming all the time at the moment now.
Yeah, Hachimecha, absolutely, yeah. There are a lot of players on it. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, well, what would you like to see? I would like to see the Hawks become a contender with the talent they have, and a lot of that probably comes from intangibles that we just don't have access to. Who knows? Yeah, I think, Lexi, you're right. It probably is going to be a backroom thing, which is going to be more impactful than a big roster change.
I mean, I think look at something like Burning Core's current roster that we know, and then comparing it to the Hawks, right? I've literally got the 2 Leaguepedia. So if you want to go on Gamepedia, you type in Burning Core, type in the SoftBank Hawks, and you can do exactly what I'm doing. So, I mean, the easiest thing to do is you currently look at the Hawks, and they only have a Waker for their head coach, and that's it. Oh, I've disconnected, I think.
Backwards. I think we're back.
Are we back? Are we back?
We're back.
My Discord froze there.
Me and Nymaera were together. We could see each other, but you were just sort of frozen, like mid sort of like
on with the show.
Record.
So Aweka is the only backroom staff, and he is just their head coach. For
nobody else, at least not on the global contract database.
Not on the global contract database, and not that it's been made aware. Whereas you look at Burning Core, they have a manager, they have a general manager, a life cut manager, a coach, and an esports advisor. Right, that's 5 people that are helping in the back room just to make sure that players can do their thing. Currently, that's not known for the Hawks. And I mean, I think I saw a photo or something of the Hawks, and they're basically all living in like a few flats or something that look very normal. It looks very much like kind of team houses from a few years ago, if you compare it to where EU and NA are and everything. And obviously that's
the full facilities,
Yeah, and that's obviously different between teams. Obviously, they just started this split, so you can't put too much weight into that, but you would hope that potentially moving forward they
step up a bit,
can get the facilities right, because I think at this point in time you basically need to be able to give every player a house or a flat or a location or a somewhere where they can go, like an office, and be like, this is where we practice, play, and everything else.
It's a big topic of conversation, because you ask someone like Sneaky from C9 when he was playing, and a couple of the other longer term players, and their opinions on gaming houses, and then kind of how team environments have evolved throughout the years. And a lot of players are now saying, look, okay, as much as team houses are kind of nice, I prefer having like separated work and home environment. It can help ease tensions between players, because you're not constantly in your presence and all that other thing. And just sometimes the commute and the professionalism of it can definitely help. I don't know what these players think. It's a very microcosm of a culture in the NA scene and stuff. But it's different people prefer different kind of approaches.
I mean,
So
like,
yeah, I don't know.
at the risk of going off topic a touch, I mean, like there was a conversation around the finals in NA, right? That C9 went off to, I think it was their Counter-Strike or possibly Dota team's training facility to play the finals and practice, basically because it made them feel a little bit more professional, gave them the right kind of mindset to go into playing the finals because they were struggling being at home all the time. They weren't getting into the right mindset. So I can see that kind of division being helpful.
Yeah, I think I've always thought that was the way I've had to think about everything when it comes to understanding that. I mean, I'm struggling to do university work because I'm having to do everything at one place at the moment, whereas I like to do university work. So I definitely echo that factor fully. So when it comes down to the idea of playing a game professionally, you kind of, I think I could totally see wanting to have a play and work balance and a life balance and everything else. And I mean, probably for a year, it's okay. But and I mean, especially for the Korean players, like if you look at some of the Korean places, that's the mentality. Like Once and Proud from Burning Core are going to come in and go, well, yeah, we should be in a team house. This is how it is in Korea. This is what we've always done. Why would we do something differently? And that's maybe it's a cultural thing as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the problem, right? Well, from our perspective of things, that we only really get the opinions of people that are, similar to our culture from the West because they speak first language English or second language English, and they have that kind of content coming out from EU and NA. We don't really have that for a lot of the Asian players. We know that various teams have ridiculously expensive training facilities out in the LPL, out in the LCK, and all that other stuff. But again, it is just a player opinion driven thing a lot of the time. I'm hesitant to talk too deeply on the subject because I don't know what these players would prefer and what would be most useful to them. And I think you are right, though. Having a separated place to work and play and all that other stuff can help in the long term, but who knows?
It will be interesting. I mean, it's the whole thing that's come over because obviously people are now starting to realize they can work from home and they can do certain things at home, but also for that same reason, it's like how much of that is just out of convenience and how much of that is due to necessity and how much of it should always be on that. And that's a whole conversation and a factor around using your home location as an office and blah, 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 blah. But I think when it comes to off-season moves, I think we just want to see something, a good player rise to the occasion and replace Rocky, and then something to happen in the Hawks, because something needs to happen in the Hawks. What necessarily is,
and everything else is just like, I don't want to break apart like the very fragile balance.
Not till summer.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll put up one potential option that I don't know necessarily whether I want to see, but as a possibility, I could see the likes of Sengoku Gaming or V3, who were nearly good enough, potentially trying to find somebody else to bring in either as a substitute, as a replacement, to try and find that extra edge if they want to look for the win. I could see that.
Yeah,
so like something like potential replacement for Ace, maybe. I know Appaman plays a bit of a different style, maybe, to how Sengoku Gaming sometimes want to play, so that might be an option. None of these are necessarily, but those aren't guaranteed.
100%
wins. It's like it depends whether they want to go for it all or not. And
that's
something which is an argument to have.
You could potentially import someone in, and not for Sengoku because they've got mid junglers imports.
Exactly.
But, V3 they've got Reyna and Boogie, so you probably can't do that either. It'd have to be an LJL home for those, really.
Exactly. So I mean, if they can find somebody, then
it will be. I mean, the one thing I've noticed and I couldn't find when I was searching is whenever we relate back to that scouting ground, it's always 2019. There wasn't a 2020 scouting ground, so I would also really like to see, I know this is not completely there, but when it's coming to players and LJL talents and everything, Scouting Grounds is only for that region's players. It's not meant for international talent to come in and be like, oh, well, I want to be as it's. No, it's meant to try and foster homegrown talent. And it'd be cool to see some LJL 2020 Scouting Grounds or something. We didn't have that at the beginning of the season, so...
Unless there's, I mean, I know in LCK a lot of the teams hold tryouts and stuff, and that's a really big thing. For instance, like
we can't watch that. I
exactly,
want to see.
We can't watch them. Yeah, that's the problem, right? But like, there are several,
currently,
Samsung
actually, currently, until we get inside, and then.
Yeah. But I know SKT picked up some ridiculous play. Well, they scouted some ridiculous players who've gone on to win world championships and all the likes from way back in the day. I mean, Huni was not picked up from an SKT scouting grounds, who was almost picked up by Samsung. So yeah, maybe the LJL teams can find some diamonds in the rough. That depends on scouting. That's a whole different topic, though.
Oh yeah, that really is, and the effectiveness of scouting and how to scout effectively is a whole nother thing, especially as the Japanese server is not seen as the highest level of play because all of the Japanese professionals play on the Korean server as well. So it does make that added level of difficulty and verification of are you who you say you are, because we just know you as this guy that plays on the Japanese server.
Yeah.
We need to find out what your Korean server is and everything else, and it's a thing in and of itself. But I'm now actually going to take a step back from hosting for the moment, as Nymaera is going to take the lead with our fantasy draft. Nymaera!
So as we were saying, kind of don't really want to breach so many topics too early, you know, keep the powder dry on some things. So we figured, how would we make an entertaining podcast for all you lot that would be interesting to listen to, and also give us a look at what, you know, still keep it relevant to the LJL, keep it interested about the players, and kind of pick our brains a little bit about some of our opinions in a very different format. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a fantasy draft. What I have done is I've mocked up a list and a point cost for each player in the LJL.
A photo of this will be available in the show notes for anyone watching or listening.
You know what I could do? I could share my screen instead of my webcam if you'd like, but
no, because it'll be only a tiny little thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. But effectively, I've given a points value to each player in the LJL for each role. Each three of us will have a 20-point total. The players are between about 2 and 6 points, between 2 being worst, 6 being the best. We're going to have a 2-minute timer, and we're going to go draft ourselves a team of 5 players, which will hopefully outdo the other twos. And if you would like to have your opinion said on those, come tell us on social media later. The order we're going to do is going to be in the order of our analysis from our pre-split predictions, going best to worst. So it will be Sam, then Lexi, and then myself, even though I'm the fucking color
Power of the play-by-play. Power of the play-by-play.
So, I will have a timer on my phone. You have 2 minutes, Sam. Please tell me if you are ready to begin your first pick of the LJL Spring 2020 draft.
I absolutely am.
Tell me your pick.
I will take Ebby in the top lane for 6 points.
Of course you are. Okay, so Ebby.
Too good to avoid.
Ebby has been taken. That is your 2 minutes up. So, moving on to our second pick of the draft. Lexi, are you ready to tell me your first pick of this draft? You're muted.
That's right. Oh god, I don't know, dude. I'm not ready, but I have to do this. All right. There's like 3 or 4 picks here that are really screaming out to me. Actually, I've got to. I can't just let it go. I'm gonna have to take Yutori in the bot lane.
Okay, so Ebby, which Sam picked up, was worth 6 points. So I did the points total for this, by the way, so you can flame me if you got any disagreements with that.
Yeah.
Ebby is worth 6, Yutori is worth 5. Remember, we have a total of 20 to spend. What this means, I now get 2 picks, so I'll pick once, then I'll pick twice, and then give it back to Lexi, then up to Sam. That's the way this is going to work.
Back and forth.
I have not thought about this. I'm going to start my timer anyway. So, Yutori is gone. Ebby is gone. I am going to pick... I could do it.
You could do it. I know you could do it.
You want to do it. I know you're a mid laner at heart. Don't do this to me.
Oh, but I'm also thinking about something else as well. He knows he should probably do, because I forced it. That's why I did it.
Oh, man. So my choice is, do I pick Adia right now? Do I do it? Is it worth the points? I'm picking Adia.
You're taking
I'm
Adia.
picking Adia.
Okay, that's your first one.
That's my first pick, and I've got 2 minutes for my next pick now. So, obviously, everyone knows that there are some very big players in the LJL, which we all very much love, but they're also very expensive. Adia was worth 6 points for me just there, so I only have another, like 14 points left to spend. So I could pick myself up 2 players and then just basically have non-existent 2 of the roles if I'd like.
Thinking about Boogie, aren't you?
I'm thinking about Boogie, but I'm thinking then the rest of my team, it would be a CGA problem. We've got 2 people who are really carrying off.
A CGA problem. They came third though.
They did. That's also a good argument for them, right? I am going to go for Reyna. I'm gonna go for Reina.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Oh, I
So
see. Okay.
Reina is the second most valuable support in my list, worth 4 points behind Gang at 5. So with that, I will clear my timer. Hand it back to Lexi for your second pick of this draft.
Syros, please.
Gonna pick Seros. Okay, Seros is worth 5 points in the mid lane champion pool, just behind Arya at 6, and Pyrion also being at 5. So, Sam, the gauntlet now goes back over to you. You have 2 minutes. Who are you gonna pick for your second pick?
I am gonna pick up Art in the bot lane.
Shit, I was angling for that myself. So you've picked up Art, who is worth 4 points in the bot lane, who is just behind you.
Such a steal. I'm sorry, Art at 4 points. Such a steal.
And because you are at the end of the draft in your own way as well, you also get your next pick now. So this will be snaking between the three of us. So Sam, what is your second pick?
Well, I was thinking about going for a mid laner, but there's not really any point now because you guys have both picked yours. So instead, I'll go for my support, I think.
Okay.
And I will go for Corporal.
Corporal. Okay, so Sam has now got Ebby, Art, and Corporal. So Ebby is worth 6, Art is worth 4, Corporal is worth 3. So that leaves you with 7 points remaining out of your 20 as you've spent 17. Yes. Lexi, as now it comes down to your third pick. You've spent 10 points. You got 10 remaining. Who's your third player?
Okay, let's just think about this for a split second. So
that's the point. I've got a budget now.
So
got a budget.
Corporal and Reina have both gone, haven't they? Yeah.
Corporal and Reina have both gone, yes. Are you willing to spend big bucks on Gang or go a little bit lower into the support pool? Do you want to spend anything on your support right now? Obviously,
I don't need to worry about support because you've both picked support players now, so I can...
And no one's picked the jungle.
Yeah.
No. I'm surprised about that, actually.
Yeah, I figured that there would be more contests for the others because there are quite a lot of good junglers in the LJL. I mean, Boogie is ridiculously good, but then I'd only have 4 points left for my other two members. So
yeah,
I'd
have to get a really bad... I'm going to go... Apperman in the top lane.
Okay, so Apperman comes in at 4 points. So that's actually pretty hefty in its own way, but he did have a good showing in this split. So now you have spent 14.6 points remaining, which leads me to have 2 picks and then have a final pick to end it out with at the very end of the draft. Crap. So I've picked myself a mid laner and a support.
You have.
You guys have both picked up 80 carries. I don't need to worry about that. You both picked up top laners, which leads me to believe I should probably pick myself a jungler right now. But it's a question of who do I want to pick on that front. I have 10 points remaining. That is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, it's really forced us to think pretty...
I'm gonna go... Poo. Damn. No, I'm not picking Poo. I'm not picking Poo.
I misplayed my draft, actually. I've realized I misplayed.
I think
I've misplayed. Oh, well, it's already... It's done.
You know what I'm gonna do? Wait, that would give me 6 points and I'd have 4 left. I could do that. I'm gonna go... Yes, screw it. That's what we're doing. We're gonna go with... Gango and Once.
No, you asshole! You picked up Once! I wanted him!
Yes, you did, and I'm picking him up. So Gango is worth 3 points. Once is worth 3 points. So I've just spent 6 points on my jungle and bot lane. So I'm gonna go take them off the table in our document we've got going for this right now. That was wrong. I just did the wrong thing. But yeah. So
criminal. The man has been so good in the early games. Give him some lane.
And the thing is, I did the points for this, but the thing is, if you think I've done something wrong, you just abuse that, and you don't pick up something that's over expensive, and you do pick up something that's very cost efficient. Well, with all that said and done, Lexi, you're on to your 4th pick. What are you going to go for?
I actually disagree your whole thing with Once, by the way. I think it's the Ray Farkey show anyway in the top lane.
Just need to say about that. Speaking... You do have your top laner.
I already have my top laner.
You have a support and a jungle to pick.
Yeah, it's only the jungle I care about. So I know what I want to do with my support. So that's already there. So I only have access to 4 junglers. So Who do I think is going to work the best with these ones? That's the
So,
question now.
You have Yutori, Saros, and Affinman.
Yeah.
And you have 14 points spent among them. You have 6 points left between your two. So you can either go for a 3 and a 3, a 4 and a 2, or just not go to budget at all and go under it. You can potentially do that. So, yeah, I guess you'd have to think about something that could play around Affinman as a split pusher, maybe play good in the mid-jungle 2v2. There are options. There are.
I'm going to go Yoshi.
Gonna go Yoshi. So Yoshi is actually our cheapest jungler at 2. He had a bit of a... He struggled for a lot of the split. Obviously had some good games, but I think the consistency was more his problem. So Yoshi going to be picked up by Lexi. Only 1 pick left now. Whereas Sam, you will finish off your draft with these next 2 picks. You have yourself 7 points for... Let's have a look. It is your mid laner and your jungler.
Yeah, I wanted to go for once and Galliardo, but I can't do that because you've taken once. I had 7 points left to get that.
Yeah.
It means I'll have to switch this around a little bit. So probably what I'll pick up is I'll pick up Ramone.
Okay. And who will your jungler be?
So I've got to choose here between Hatchamecha, Hoglet, and Tussle.
They're all of our 4-point junglers, Hatchamecha, Hoglet, and Tussle.
Do I rate mid-jungle or jungle support more?
It's a good question. Also think about the mannerisms of your players as well, right? You have a ridiculously strong topside in Ebby.
I'm going to pick up Tussle, because I know Tussle and Ebby have played together before.
Very interesting. So Tussle for 4 points rounds you up at exactly 20 points, and you have your full team. So to repeat that once again, Sam has picked up Ebby, Tussle, Ramone, Art, and Corporal. Lexi, you're going to have to finish off your draft now as well.
Just going to end it out with NT.
NC. So NC is a 3-point support, and that will be alongside for you Yutori in the bot side. So a very interesting bot lane for you there yourself. Oops, I've just spelled that wrong on the thing. And that leaves me with my last pick, and I have to pick up a mid laner, which is... Oh, no, I don't. I've got Arya. Whoops, yeah. I was about to say, that's a bit odd. I need to pick up myself a top laner. I have myself 4 points. So I can either pick up Paz for 4 points, or Cog, Nap, Onion, or Dasher. So I have to think... Is Paz, just because I rated him at 4, better than the others? Would he fit with the style of my comp? I could potentially go for something like Dasher and just hope that he just plays aggro all the time, but he had a very interesting split playing around weak side. I think I am going to go for Paz to round it off. Yeah, I'm going to go with Paz. So, with all things said and done, we now have our team composition. So, it's saying, so Lexi picked up Apperman, Yoshi, Saros, Yutori, and NC, and I picked up Paz, Once, Arya, Gango, and Reyna. All that said and done, guys, who do you think has the best draft? Yeah, let me put mine in order.
I mean, I feel like my only super weak part is my jungle. But then I think my actual laners are just on par, just either really good or have been shown to be tops of the table sometimes. So it kind of depends on what day people wake up on.
True, because we've seen Saros be night and day, for instance, right? His finals and his semi-finals performances were so good. I would potentially say,
I think it's yours, and I'll tell you why. I think mainly because I actually think Once with lanes to play around is a very different beast to Once having to try and solo carry everything. And I do think that's pretty good, especially when you've got Reyna, who does love to roam, support his jungler. I think having Arya in there, and I think Paz is a pretty good laner as well, just makes for a very good mid-jungle and a decent top side as well.
That being said, I mean, you told me Ashe and NC is a really strong lane from Lexi, and you have Ebby. Yeah. So Ebby is a win condition in his own way. I think Once and Arya, I'd just love to see that in general. I'd love to see that in real life, actually. Paz does whatever he wants. He's a very safe top player. He team fights well. And like Gango and Reyna, Gango could absolutely shit the bed, don't get me wrong. We've seen that a couple of times. But Reyna has shown himself to be a very good support this split. He showed up again. Honestly, in their semifinals versus DFM, he was probably V3's best member as well, I would say. I don't know if you guys would agree with that. But Reyna, I think I've been very impressed with him in his first split in the LJL.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I potentially say I came out on top of that just because I feel like they're all on the same kind of page as well. They're all just hyper aggressive players. But I'm not entirely certain on that.
I mean, I think everyone but Paz is a hyper aggressive player.
Yeah.
Paz
Which is
can
why I'm like,
Paz can play aggressive, but at the same time, you can just leave him on the
Yeah.
island. The only problem is if Sam's comp obviously plays against him and they're able to just scale up.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
And Arya doesn't
Wow.
just solo kill Ramone. Like that could be a problem where Ebby just goes smacks
Yep.
Paz and just goes no,
Bonk.
bad
Yeah.
Paz, my
Well,
lane,
yeah.
and then it's
Yeah,
like oh, it's game over, man.
Yeah. I'm a fan of pairing up the playmaker Corporal with Art as well, who just enjoys
Ooh.
deciding it's time to 1v3 on Avelios.
Well, and the thing is,
It
like, we
could be a
saw
lot of fun.
Corporal be a really good peel and engage support. He had a fantastic thrash, even though his win rate's not great on it. His Yumi was also one of the better ones in the LJL too.
He's got a good
And
recall.
like, you're also yeah, his Rakan was good too, right? And then you think, okay, right, he actually got like an 80. Like Hyde, I wasn't too impressed in this split. I think he had a lot of positioning errors. His laning phase wasn't potentially that strong either. And what this means is the Corporal would be paired up with someone who's very much worth all the supported play you play around him. CGA barely took down Rascal Jester, and a lot of the Rascal Jester, honestly, like Art was actually our player of the series. All things said and done, we actually did that on the podcast. Art, even in the losing position, ended up taking that from us. The guy's just ridiculous. So you give him you give him peel play to play around, he comes out tops.
Yeah. And I just think having potentially the likes of Ramone and Tussle who would like say, okay, we pushed out mid lane, we roam as a duo to support either Ebby or the bot lane, depending on what the game state requires, I think potentially plays out quite well. So I'm not displeased with my draft.
And for me, I've put Gango as someone who isn't Grendel.
I mean, I think what's super interesting is Sam has picked two Hawks players.
Not
even
yet.
even after the season they've just had, which by default just means that me and Nymaera win, right? Because he's picked two Hawks players.
I know, it's a risk.
Because like because I remember coming back into because we listened to our timestamps from the first episode, right? When you were talking about the Hawks, talking about, oh man, I loved seeing Ramone and Tussle playing together. Get your head out of the past, old man. It's that this is the age of Adia now.
What I wanted to go for was Once and Gadiadu. Would have been my mid lane duo of choice.
Yeah, true. I think Gadiadu had a really good split. He's been one of my players to watch this split.
I just think having Once and Ebby together would be a terrifying prospect.
Here's a question then. What were you guys aiming? So you obviously, Sam, you said what you were aiming for. Lexi, was there any, particularly getting to the last couple of picks, was there anything that you were aiming for that you felt you missed out on?
I think the only thing I kind of missed out on was a half decent jungler. But the thing is with I'm very confident with my laner's ability. Obviously, I aggressively went for Yutori Muashi because I knew Enti's probably going to be very safe. And I can probably last pick Enti. So I was like, okay, I picked Yutori Muashi. That seems pretty good. I wanted a very good mid laner because I wanted to be able to have someone that's one, capable of roaming, but also can just solo win his lane. Apperman can be left in the top lane. And I was like, well, Yoshi did do some good ganks sometimes, so that was the purpose. I think this is a team that's going to play very safe and will just hopefully methodically win games through just sheer better play than most of their opponents.
And if you're going to do that, actually, you will have the Sengoku bot lane, like you were saying, right? So, and if you're going to talk about that, and Seros and Pyrian do perform the same role in their teams a lot of the time in terms of the scaling mid laner. So if you're going to play that kind of style, I can definitely see that being on theme. I went completely shit balls to the wall. Everyone's going to be aggressive all the time. Of course, Paz is maybe the exception to that, but everyone else is going to be flying off.
Should have gone with Dasher. Should have just said Dasher and said fuck it.
Like, yes, Dasher will be my key to success. He will play Aurelia. He will play Aurelia into Scion and die all the time or something. Yeah.
He'll never get his Lucian because they always back.
Yeah.
Who wants to give you that?
I mean, you got the flex pick between like 3 different people who play that really well. Actually, Gango's a really good Lucian player.
He's a very good Lucian player.
And Adio, we've seen what he can do on that pick. Yeah. No, anyway, I thought this was a really interesting thought experiment, so I've taken a screenshot of it. And if anyone wants to come and flame us about how we did it or anything, please tell us if you're interested.
It'll be.
Should we stick this in the Discord and see whether we get people to vote on which one they think is the best one?
We can do that.
I'm
kind of curious to see what the community thinks.
I don't think we'll get any responses within the time.
No, not within the podcast.
I've taken a screenshot. I've done a screenshot.
I think
maybe for the next episode, I'd be curious to see what people have thought over the week.
I think it'll be really cool because I think this is the kind of thing when you look at some of the players within the LJL. There's a lot of options there. in ways that you can kind of take it. Like, we all went completely different ways. Obviously, we were drafting against each other, which brings, obviously, some questions in, so you can't kind of metagame and break it so it's perfectly how you want it, as we all counter-picked each other a little bit to some aspect, or took away options. So, I mean, it's interesting that we decided to go with all of that.
And I mean, if anyone out there wants to do this themselves, get a group of friends together and try it out, and let us know what you did, and get us to look over it and see what we think. That'd be really cool too.
That'd be cool.
I'd be curious to see what people think about like what they think is the most efficient buy with the 20 points without having to compete against people as well. What they think would be like the most efficient buy.
Because I mean,
I reckon I'm pretty close with what I think Ebby wants. Galio Corporal is a pretty good roster for 20 points.
I'd be interested to see actually who you think is. Because obviously I kind of put 6 as like the absolute best in role, and like with Ebby as a 6, Boozy as a 6, Arya as a 6. But how far ahead are they of their peers to make them worth that many points? Have I just judged it wrong? Of course, sometimes it is an arbitrary thing, right? But if you're playing on these rules, with the points that we've got down there, what would be the best team? That's a very interesting point.
I mean, it's and that's just a hard thing to kind of fully
it's so subjective anyway, right?
Yeah, because it's subjective to when Nymaera, and like, I mean, I looked over this, I was like, yeah, this seems fine. I mean,
all right, close enough.
It's close enough, right?
Nothing that was making me go, no.
Yeah, so like, I'm like, yeah, that's it. And as Nymaera was saying, right, if there is anything wrong with it, we should just exploit that and take advantage of any potential. Oh, I can get a player for 1 less point.
Yeah,
cool buddy.
So, for instance, I would potentially put Reyna up to a 5 alongside Gang. Potentially, I could do that. That would probably be. I could reason with that.
Or you could do a 6-5.
6-5, Gang at 6, Reyna at 5. Could do that, yeah. And
yeah, and I think that's interesting. Like, Once could probably go up to 4. Probably one of the other junglers could probably go up to a 5. And it's like, well, it's like, it's an interesting exercise to kind of do that, because it's kind of also thinking about the players in more of a broader sense, because then you can look at their champion pools, their flexibility, what they do in solo queue, and like, where does that mean? How do you level a player? And also, what day does it show up? Like we were saying for Syros, night and day sometimes when it comes to playoff Syros, which one you're going to see? Yoshi, as well. Oh god, tiebreaker Yoshi, or spring split Yoshi.
Yeah.
Very different beast.
Yeah. Sure.
But with that all said, dear listener, I'm going to ask my co-hosts if there's anything else they want to say, as we have actually reached the end of our topics. I know, such a short episode. It's only been an hour. I know that you've spent with us. You're used to having many hours with us, but this is what we meant by, as Nymaera just shouted, bite size. Yes.
Efficient.
So, gentlemen, is there anything you want to say to our beloved listeners and viewers out there?
Vote for the superior analyst when it comes to who made the best team. That's clearly me. That's about it.
Oh god. Right. I think it's just, if you want to get in contact with us about what you'd like to hear on the LJL podcast, we'd very much like to hear that. Of course, you kind of heard us say, oh no, topics, all this other stuff. We do have things that we can think of. We'll still be pumping out content, but if there is anything you want to hear, it would be really nice to hear it as well.
Especially in the sort of dead space between splits, right?
Yeah. So come talk to us. We'd love to hear from you.
A few ideas. Some of them take a lot more preparation than others, I think it's fair to say.
Yes.
But with that all said, even if it does take preparation time away from us, it does also mean that potentially we can bring you out some better content overall. So yeah, feedback, everything else in regards to that. Obviously, you can catch all of our social medias underneath us, or at Nymaera, at Initia1ise with a 1, or at MaskedSwan. Obviously, we have the LJL Officially Unofficial, and you can also reach out to us on our DMs. Our DMs are open, and we have actually got confirmation for that. So we're doing it. We're vaguely doing it. We're figuring out as it goes along the way. But with that all said, gentlemen, it's time to say goodbye.
Bye.
Good night, and we hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Take care.